This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute. What do we do? Radio with Emily Dean. Steve Hall is with us today. His friends call him Albert, but we still call him Steve. You can text the show on someone's phone, went then.
I suspect it was me.
That's my unprofessional alarm. You can text the show on 8 12 15. Someone just has, by the sounds of it. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show free via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
Frank, I think it's safe to say we've been inundated with correspondence regarding your jacket. So,
Really?
yeah.
Have you...
Would you like to update the readers?
Well, I
freshly
wore a
joined us?
jacket last week.
Oh, you wore a jacket last
It's
week.
just-
So I watched it, seeing it on Instagram. Delightful.
You like
I
it?
loved it. Which is probably, that means you have to burn it in a bin immediately.
No, it was a jacket
You
that
got off it.
I'm genuinely...
I could see Frank re-evaluating the jacket as you said that.
at least I know who I'm going to give it to if I get rid of it. So I've got a jacket, and it's not a jacket that I'm championing. It's a jacket I'm genuinely torn. I don't know whether I like it or not.
So
And
it's the jacket.
I've had it for years, and I wear it for a bit and then think, no, I don't like it, and then I pine for it. So we had a vote.
I mean, in case people haven't seen the jacket, it's been compared to many things. We've had so many tweets and emails and texts about it.
Really?
It's
Wow.
been compared to Life on Mars.
Oh, yes, it could be from that era.
Yeah, it's got
But they
that
mean
vibe.
the TV show, not the David Bowie Life on Mars question mark.
We've had someone else saying it was like the seating on a Triumph stag.
Okay.
We also had someone else simply saying, God bless Hookie Street.
Yeah, that was that was my favourite.
Did anyone say Donnie Brasco? That was
I
mine.
don't think they said God bless Hookie Street. What was the brilliant thing? They said
No income tax.
no income
Yeah.
tax. No
Right.
VAT.
They
Fabulous.
did, you're
Donnie
absolutely
Brasco, someone said. That's the ears, the big ears on it.
Liam says, that's Frank's signature jacket. If I close my eyes, I can see him in it. It's that synonymous with him.
Really?
Is this your equivalent? This is Liz Hurley's That Dress.
Well, I told you when I was living in the West Midlands in my youth, if you was describing anyone, you wouldn't say, yeah, he's a tall bloke, he's got like a crew cut. You'd say, you know him, he wears like a light brown jacket, because we only had one set of clothes each. So it's a very good way of identifying people. Of course, it's all gone now, all that.
Someone on Twitter described the colour as Caramac.
Yes, I
yes,
think
we
that
like
was
that.
fair, but that is blonde chocolate.
And
It's
then
called now.
Oh, right.
It is. It's called blonde
we'll
chocolate.
return to the jacket inevitably at some point, but just I'd like to finish off with Angela Scanlon, who we adore. You're familiar with her work. And Angela...
What robot was? Can't go wrong.
Yeah. She initially said no comment.
Oh.
Then...
That's a very funny thing to put on. Why bring it up?
Then she elaborated, and she said, look, I mean, if anyone can wear it, it's you. But I
That's
think...
nice, I think.
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
I think we'd all rather no one did, you know?
Oh, okay. Scanlon. Satirist. No, she's very... I think I hosted the One show with her.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
She's fabulous.
The old memory, you know. The old memory.
And a lot of people saying, most generally, I'm with Kath. We've had several
Because
people.
Kath hates it. That's my partner, Kathy, in case you're new to the show. Although if you're still with the show after we've spent 5 minutes talking about a jacket you haven't seen, then you should really be listening to Radio 4 drama.
Give the people
Stuff
what
that
they
you'll
want,
like.
Frank. This is all they want.
Okay, that's fine.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
We get nice gifts sent to the show. In recent times, I had a fantastic book arrive called Poems in Progress, a British Library product, and it was poems, the sort of manuscript of poems, you know, in in their own hand with well, not Milton's wasn't. It's complicated. But like modern poets as well, and it's brilliant. And there was no letter saying.
I feel confident you were probly the only commercial radio breakfast host to get that.
Well,
which I like.
Titchmarsh, maybe. I think we're up against Titchmarsh. Are we on a Saturday, Sarah?
Oh, I don't know.
Thanks for your help. So that was brilliant, but there's no letter with it, so I don't know who sent it. It seems like it just came from the British Library, as if that was a person. And we had, I'll tell you what, we had Art and Hugh. You know, we hear now and again from Odysseus Constantine. And he sends lovely pictures. And he sent Emily Henry VIII picture, which I never realised how much Henry VIII looks like Ben Stokes. I mean, it's really quite remarkable.
Would he be a good crush for me? I need a new one.
Ben Stokes, I think he'd be excellent.
Or Henry VIII.
Oh, he still is my crush.
Too late for Henry VIII. Also, I've heard some bad stories about him and women.
Yeah, I think he's been cancelled.
Yeah,
well, none of
probably.
us are perfect.
No, that is true. Yeah, and I was, as he said, I've enclosed a print of Frank's first crush, Honor Blackman as Kathy Gale in The Avengers. Was my first celebrity crush. I don't want to completely ignore Annette Law, who was in our class, who I was mad about, but obviously I never told her. I was like 6. I mean, disgusting. Clean your mouth out, she would have said. Yeah, it says here the first independent female character on TV. Quite hard to establish, I would have thought. But open brackets, apparently because the writers didn't have time to adjust the scripts written with a man in mind. I never knew that. Did you know that, Steve?
I did not know that. So it was an independent woman by accident.
Yeah, exactly. It was an independent woman playing what was actually an independent man. Okay. So, but today we heard from Andy Wood, who you may remember lives in Bronte country. We hear from him now and again. Do you know Andy Wood?
No.
Thanks for the tip. And he sent me a T-shirt, and I think he's also sent Emily one. So do you want me to reveal mine first or yours first? Because we don't know what each other's got. Emily's is still in the cellophane.
Still in the pristine
I'd
cellophane.
rather see yours before I commit. If you know what I mean.
Still using that line. Well, mine is it's a picture. I'm going to show Emily first of all.
Oh, I like it.
It's the king.
It's the king.
Not Elvis. It's the king, not the king. King Charles. Holding the pen and saying, every stinking time. It's actually that moment captured with a speech bubble, so that's brilliant.
Oh, okay.
Well done, Andy.
Do you want to hear
great.
what I've got?
And Emily, if Emily's got the
nice.
same one, obviously, then...
Live-
Good Foley artist sound effect
Reveal. They call this unboxing, don't they, online?
Do they?
They say, hi
Oh,
guys.
yes, there's people that just do this,
They're
aren't
like
they?
going, hi guys, I'm going to be doing some unboxing now. Hi guys, so what we got in here? And they just sit there opening the goods they've been sent. It's sort of bribes,
Yeah,
really.
I think it was started by Burke and Hare, the genre.
Here we are, Frank, the big reveal. Okay, do you want to tell?
I really hope it's something nice.
Oh, it is Henry VIII saying every stinking time.
This is possibly the greatest thing I've ever set eyes on.
That is very fine.
It's Henry VIII with a speech bubble, and it's a proper. It's not Comic Sans, that is it? But it's the comic typeface, Frank, that you get in.
I don't know. I don't know enough about font.
Okay, but it's rather beautiful.
Yes,
That's
it
fabulous.
is. It's very good indeed. I won't do a Henry VIII impression because whatever I do, it's like I heard somebody saying that they did a really good pterodactyl impression. I thought that's going to be hard to ratify that. Yeah, you've heard a pterodactyl. Or like I said, now my Henry VIII impression. Hello, you're very pretty girl. So who knows?
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I went. I've been shopping this week, clothes shopping, and
For a new jacket? Or-
for just new stuff, and I went and I tried a jacket on, which I liked.
Okay.
And the assistant, the young female assistant, said, I said, what do you think of this size? She said, I think that's good. I think that's the right size. I said, I think it's a bit small. I said, I think I wouldn't mind trying a size up from this. And she said, okay. Well, we might have a bigger size. I don't mind checking. And I said, oh, that's very good of you. And she said, oh, no, no worries. And I thought she didn't get any irony or anything.
Yeah.
And but she was kind of sweet, but it was the very strong idea that this was someone who happened to be in the shop and was helping me out.
Yeah.
And then I went to get some shoes. You've probably guessed I've got a clothing allowance coming from a television series. Nevertheless. So I picked 4 pairs of shoes, and I said, "Can I try these?" And then I'll decide.
Can I ask? Did you have anyone with you helping you?
I had my personal assistant.
Did she offer you? Oh, she's got good taste. That's reassuring.
Anyway, she said you can only have 3 pairs at any one time to try on. I said, that's the actual rule, 3. She said, yeah. I said, why is that? She said, oh, otherwise they get all mixed up. I thought they're completely different shoes. How does that happen? Anyway, I didn't want it, so that happened. And
there's like a 10 items or less.
Yeah. So, I mean, I presume she meant pairs. You can only try 3 shoes on. And it just made me think it might be an interesting text in things shop assistants have said to you. Because I realised that there was a time, maybe 20 years ago, I would have got quite, miffed if someone had said, well, I don't mind checking. And now I just absolutely accept a very low level of service and interest.
Yeah.
And I also don't like that thing at the end. You know, this thing that they always do. I bought quite a bit in this one shop. And then the woman said, right, we got 3 T-shirts in a box for just blah. I said, no, I don't want any T-shirts. I would have got T-shirts if I needed them. She said, it's quite a bargain. I said, I don't want them.
Yeah.
I said, I bought all this stuff. Yeah. Why do you need me to buy more? She said, okay, just give me your email and your name. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. She said, oh, it's really helpful. I said, who to, though? So I didn't give it, and I left there. I'd spent money in there. It wasn't mine, but I'd spent it.
I should hope so after that performance.
Yeah. And I really felt like I'd let the shop down in some way, because I hadn't bought the stupid T-shirts and given them my email. I mean, I thought they'd be really glad. I thought they'd love me for spending that money in there in this right tight financial climate we live in.
When did you last go into a retail environment?
Last time I had a clothing allowance from a TV series.
But you weren't tempted to, because I remember you once in a bookshop, someone had sort of like said in a minute, and you'd put the books down on the counter and exited.
Yes, I did do that. Now I've mellowed. I have, because my expectations of shop assistants are so low.
Well, I was talking to things that shop assistants say. I think I've told you this before, Frank, but the thing I have a real aversion to, and it will make me walk out of a shop, is, I appreciate it's quite picky, but welcome to me. It is the specific tone that shop assistants use. When they say, do you need any help at all, they don't say that. They say, do you need any help at all?
Yeah, I quite like that, mainly because I wrote the tune for that, and I get money every time they say it. I also wrote, hello, can I help you? I wrote that as well, and the royalties are fantastic. Actually, the woman who asked me said she didn't mind checking. I got chatting to after. She was comparing me to her dad quite a lot, and she was actually very sweet. I don't even equate it with rudeness. I just think it's the way shop assistants now speak. It's the genre. That's what I'm thinking. If there's any shop assistants listening, I think you should be at work.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
What do you think of this from Third Frame? Best Saturday morning show since Tiz was. Frank Skinner Show, Absolute Radio.
Oh, he's talking about us.
Yeah, what do you think?
I thought he was on about. I think they're rerunning Skippy on London TV. That's good. We don't normally do praise. You slightly put me on the back foot.
Well, I wasn't sure. The reason I selected it is because I'm not 100% convinced it was praise.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Ruth Jordan also, Frank. I strongly feel that Divine Miss M should have accompanied Frank on his clothes shopping trip with a camera crew. A great TV show could have come out of Emily as Frank's stylist, quietly placing Frank's choices back on the racks and steering him gently towards style.
I actually did one of those things that I think it was very much as a thing that women do, is walk past a garment and just give it the slightest little touch between the index finger and thumb and keep walking.
I believe they're called sleeve pullers in the trade.
Oh, are they?
Sleeve
That's
pullers.
what sleeve pullers are. Thank God for that.
082 has agreed with your comment about the way staff introduce themselves in shops. They've said they've noticed the phrase, "Yeah, I can definitely do that for you."
Yeah.
With a sort of air of menace.
No, I just got used to it now. Politeness, old-fashioned concept. Anyway, this week I had to sign 5,000 vinyl record sleeves, and that's quite hard work. That reminded me of my factory days, and it was just me, David Baddiel, and Ian Brodie. No clues as to what the record was. Sitting in a room at Sony with this pile upon pile of this stuff. I mean, wowee. And it got into the signing, and I started talking about Strictly, and having watched Strictly that week, and I realised I'd signed 5 sleeves Frank Strictly. That's how mad I'd gone by that point.
That's your late night adult name.
Well, those ones,
coincidentally, that's my S&M name.
Oh, God.
they'll be worth something. Those 5 records will end up on Discogs.com.
Yeah, I don't know if they might have discarded them, but I hope they've kept the Frank Strictly's. I think that would have been good. It's not the
How long does that take?
We signed a few we signed about 1,000 the day before. Signing 4,000 took us from 10 o'clock till 6 p.m.
Really?
I know, it's really...
It's very nearly a day.
It's all right for David Baddiel, just as initials. It's like he's made a mistake on a check.
Does he just do initials?
Yeah.
DB?
I mean, at least I do Frank Strictly. But it's one of those...
That's like the autograph I got from Frank Bruno. Do you remember that, Frank?
Was it F. Bruno? Yeah, I think I was down to F.
Dear Emma.
Well, I think
F.
F
Bruno.
is all right. I don't mind that. But it's so... all your standards drop. So that I say, how many to go? 3,000. Got any biscuits? It's just like that. I was just eating cake dipped in syrup.
Did you have they give you some luncheon vouchers, though, so you could go and get something to eat?
Oh, yeah, they took us to the counter. There's a few perks we could have. And me and Dave took it in turn to choose what music we could listen to while I was doing it.
What did David plump for?
Well, I started Lovely Eggs, and then he went Diamond Dogs, David Bowie.
Oh, lovely choices. I'm
Nice,
liking
yeah,
this
this
room.
is
I'm
great,
I'm
yeah.
feeling
And
this
then I
room.
went to Kraftwerk.
Okay.
He went Jodie Mitchell. I went Alice Cooper. He went Beth Orton.
What about Ian Brodie? Did he play his own music?
He didn't get a pick.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
On the subject of shop assistants, Jimmy has tweeted to say he was eyeing up a belt in Camden Market, and he told the
Hey, big spender.
he said he was eyeing up a belt, and he told the vendor, "I would have a think and come back later." The vendor replied, "Have a think when you're buying a hovercraft, not when you're buying a belt." He says, "I bought the belt."
That's pretty good.
I really, really like that.
Frank, Claire Cowley has got in touch. Once, long ago,
Oh, this is a bit of a... Shall I settle myself down for this one?
Gather by the
It's
fireside.
the Shrek sequel.
Then I saw her face. Oh, I love that. The children love that song, don't they? In the Bowden shop near Hanger Lane Gyratory, getting less fairy tale-ish.
What's the Bowden?
Bowden.
What is that?
Oh, okay. I'll deal with this, Steve. Bowden
Yeah.
is possibly, I'd say it's peak middle class. Lovely, lovely clothes. Lovely Johnny Bowden.
Okay. For men or for the ladies?
For all of us.
Okay.
For all of us. And the Bowden, I'm thinking, it used to be associated with a sort of slight Guernsey sweater, Breton vibe. Maybe carrying a copy of the Times on a Sunday and sitting down for a croissant.
You're right. Hanger Lane Gyratory was a bit of a swerve. But it often is for me.
Yeah. Kate, the Duchess of Sussex, is a Bowden fan.
Is that right?
It's your classic... Your classic simple looks. I love a bit of Bowden. Anyway, I was in Bowden queuing behind a very elegant lady with arms full of chic casual clothes. The assistant checked the account info loudly and read out the said lady's credentials. I then learned your fave... Honor Blackman's full address.
Oh, wow. This must be going back a bit, of course, because sadly no longer with us. But that is, you don't want to be giving out Honor Blackman's address. Especially, what if I'd been in the queue? I've been around there. I hope she was buying a leather onesie as worn by Kathy Gale all those many years ago. She was a Bond girl as well, of course, Honor.
She was, wasn't she?
She was. I don't know if we'd say her name on Breakfast Radio.
I don't think we'd say that character
Let's
name
say
anymore.
Ms. Galore.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Of the Worcestershire galores.
I still can't. I'm struggling to get over have a think when you're buying a hovercraft, not a belt.
No, it's really good, that.
So
It's
good.
excellent life advice.
I think they'd probably used... But we've all... I actually did I'll have a think about it and come back in the shop where I didn't buy the T-shirts. And I meant it. I tried a coat and I thought, maybe. And she didn't believe me. I think that's basically, to a shop assistant, that means goodbye.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. I'm not that optimistic. I'm with Emily Dean, and Steve Hall is with us this morning.
Good morning.
Just correspondence coming in. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. Is there outsidey worldy?
There is.
We were discussing shop assistants.
Yeah, we've had David Parker, Harrington Clothes Shop in Sheffield Market. The changing room is up the ladders.
Oh.
This was for both men and women. The changing room is up the ladders.
I think I like that, unless he wasn't underneath the changing room.
Yeah.
It was grid. It was metal grid work.
Was it in the industrial zone of the Crystal Maze, that shop?
Yeah, so I don't really expect to have a chat. If it's on a market, I just see you pays your money, you takes your risk.
Linda Denigan, I bought a £10 item in M&S, gave a tenner. Assistant gave me £10 change.
Result.
When I pointed out her mistake, she said, "You can't scam me.
Wow.
I know I gave you £20. I'm not stupid." I left with my free item.
That is a very...
Amazing.
What, the assistant said, I know I gave you £20?
Yes. She's saying, "I know you gave me £20.
Oh, I see. That makes
It's
sense.
the idea that she perceives that as a scam.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the fact that the assistant thought anyone would attempt to scam
not
on
that-
those
not that old
principles.
Perhaps she thought it was she's being framed.
Maybe she
Yeah,
thought
that
it was
was-
fake money or something like
A
that.
mystery shopper there to dob her
Yes.
in. Undercover boss or
But
something
brilliant.
like that.
I mean, I would have soon got over their rudeness if I'd got £10 like that for myself.
Well, she might have thought it was counterfeit. I was in a shop only recently and there was an investigation into whether this was legal tender, because obviously we have to say that in a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
And the gentleman in question, who was being questioned, it was the definition of protesting too much. Because he was trying to get the fellow shoppers on side. He was looking at us saying, I mean, look, I've been spending this everywhere. I haven't had a problem. I thought, but that's not really... It's not convincing me.
This was as he was did he have a counterfeit? Anyway.
Was it a comedian returning from the Edinburgh Festival? Because that's a very common...
I know, you come back with your Scottish money and no one will take it.
I mean, his did look, I have to say, there was something of the Toy Town.
It's beautiful Scottish money, I think.
I'm saying this gentleman's money had a Toy Town vibe.
I see, right.
Scottish money is lovely. I would say in some sense it's superior.
I tell you what I haven't had for a while is someone holding up one of my notes to check.
Oh, yes, yeah.
They used to look for the silver paper going down the middle. I don't think that happens anymore in the plastic.
They have a special machine now.
Oh, is that right?
The worst thing anyone has ever, a shop assistant's ever said to me, I was in one of those posh shops on New Bond Street. And I was clearly out of my depth. Well, that was exactly it. The shop assistant came up to me, clearly looking at my slightly dowdy attire, and said, "Why are you in here?"
Wow.
They didn't.
And there was a real... I kind of had to acknowledge it. There was a real... yeah, you're right. I'd gone in not knowing that it was that expensive. I should have known from the street I was on. And so fair.
No need for that, though.
It was.
Poor Steve.
I laughed out of awkwardness and then pretended to browse.
I think I've told on here before that I went in a shop in that, I think, on Piccadilly. And the bloke said, I don't think you'll be able to afford anything in here.
Did they?
And
did you have your pretty woman huge mistake moment?
I was shabbily dressed, but I thought I could probably have a crack at buying the shop. Anyway, that was then. This is now. So what about your life, Steve Hall? What have you been up to? You've usually done some stuff. Oh, as soon as I asked that, the producer did that. Let's cut. No, don't do that.
No, yank it.
There's no mileage in this, trust me. I've been in radio a long time. Oh, poor Steve Hall. I mean, you weren't that shop assistant, were you, Sarah?
Why am I in here?
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So we were talking about Steve
Hall. Now, hold on, producers getting ready to jump in again.
Don't silence me.
Go on, Steve.
I obviously do this show every now and then and live my lonely life. My wife got me my birthday
With my lonely
present.
life, my wife was the next thing. That's a bad juxtaposition.
My wife's birthday present to me was a machine that will...
Machine gun?
It'll turn old cassette tapes, it'll digitise them and you can put them on your computer. So stuff I'd recorded off the radio.
It's a good gift.
It was a gift that I felt seen. I felt like my wife got me with that gift. And one of the things that I'd recorded in fact, an old girlfriend had recorded it off the radio for me in 1997, was a student quiz that I did when I was at university, and it was like the local student radio station.
Right.
And one of the people, it was people from my college. One of the people who did it was a really good mate of mine, Steph Guerrero, who is now he's a part of the Socially Distanced Sports Bar podcast, which has been a big hit of lockdown. And now does a TV show with Ellis James. And so I thought I'll listen to it because Steph.
Ellis James, he's everywhere.
He's everywhere. And I listened to it, and it's fascinating hearing your voice from when you were 18 years old or however old I was. I didn't know that the host of this sports quiz, it's a nerdy thing to record.
So it was a student.
It was a student radio.
What did he go out on?
It was on Oxygen, was the name of the radio station. It was 107.9, Twist It Hard to the Right was their slogan.
Okay.
Because you had to go to the far end of the FM dial. No, exactly. And it was.
I find that love is like oxygen. You get too much. You
They
get
got,
to-
they got into a lot of trouble, that student radio station, because they faked a news report. They broke all the broadcasting rules, and
Can
they
I
faked
stop?
a
Can
day
I
of
stop you for
broadcasting.
1 second? I think a lot of people, if the room was cold, would say the room's a bit cold. What Emily Dean has done is layered up these clothes. She looks like someone waiting for news from the pit disaster.
I'm wearing a coat round my front.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, they've got.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but there is a running thing here that no one we've ever had doing admin on the show can operate the heating in the studio. So it's either tropical
It's Club Tropicana or Tundra.
or
It's also
exactly.
off air. Sarah, the producer, was describing Katy Perry in her documentary when she learns that her divorce is coming through, wrapping herself in a coat and crying. And it feels like you've recreated Katy Perry
Yeah, don't
in
cry,
her
though.
documentary.
No, I have no intention of crying.
And now I think that was just a ruse to get to kill another Steve Hall anecdote, because now she's doing the cutthroat
It was a mercy
signal.
killing. It was a mercy killing.
She's just behind Steve doing big yawning thing with hand to mouth and the cutthroat thing. So we're just going to go for a break. I'm going to fight for Steve Hall.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So I was telling you about my listening to this tape of me on a student radio station, November 1997. And
Vanity, thy name is Hall.
and it was an interesting thing. I was wondering. I thought I'll listen to this. It's nice. Steph's been on telly a bit. It's nice hearing my old mate see what we sounded like when we were 19 years old. And the host of this student quiz, I had.
Can I ask you a question before we get to the host?
Sure.
Did you say anything funny on there when you thought, oh, I can pull out my hat now?
No.
Okay.
It was. I said a few funny things, but nothing.
I'm not suggesting you didn't say funny things. I'm just wondering if there was any recyclable
No,
material.
there was no. It was a sports quiz.
And what were you saying before we get to the mystery host? What were you saying about that there was fake news?
Well, it was a very newly started radio station, and it was run very badly, and they broke loads of broadcasting rules, and they got sort of audited or whatever it would be, and so they had to provide a day's worth of their output for the people to listen to, and they hadn't been recording it at all. They were breaking so many rules, so they faked an entire day of broadcasting.
Wow.
And they pretended to, let's say it was May the 18th, but the day that they had to provide was February the 21st. They just read the news as if it was, this is February the 21st, you're listening to student radio.
Oh.
And they got found out.
Oh dear.
And got into a lot of trouble. But I quite just the sheer chutzpah of that. Just to go for a scam that big.
Yeah.
Just make people listening to it. Not that anyone was listening to it.
So, okay, so you're on the quiz
So
show.
I'm on the quiz. I'm listening to myself, and we win the quiz. That still mattered to me 25 years later.
Yeah.
But it turned out the host of the quiz, I had no memory of this, was a 19-year-old Matt Hancock, the disgraced former health secretary.
Wow.
And I fascinating.
Who doesn't do the social distancing podcast?
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Matt Hancock.
And so immediately, I thought I've got to re-listen to it, see if this is worth. Is there anything interesting that points?
I'd like to hear his
career?
repartee, I must say. Was he as a host?
He was
sure he'll oblige.
absolutely terrible, but then we were also terrible as contestants as well.
Right.
So I'd wondered about whether to put it out somewhere for people to put it on SoundCloud or something like that for people to listen to. And I sent it to Steph, and he said, we sound just as bad as Matt Hancock. that we haven't got him. There's no great.
So
We've
what-
got you, Hancock.
Did you know? Were you mates? Did you know?
No, we didn't know him at all. So
Mates with Hancock?
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
In fact, in the recording, you can hear Steph's open contempt for this weird man is the most entertaining thing about the tape.
Poor Matt Hancock. Even then.
Yeah,
Even then, ... Well, it's good to know how you spend your spare time anyway, Steve. Listening to yourself.
to old dusty cassettes from a bygone era.
Lovely.
It's always got to be something slightly quiz-related with Steve, let's be honest.
Yes.
There's always got to be a quiz thrown in there somewhere.
What's your favourite ever quiz question, Steve? I'll give you a chance to think about that. Have we heard from the outside world?
We have. Good morning, Frank. On the subject of shop staff responses, I lived in Hong Kong for a while during the 1990s, and one day I went to buy a small portable music system, as was very normal in HK at that time. Love HK. You always asked for a discount on the marked price, particularly if you were paying in cash. The ticket price was something around the equivalent of £50, so I felt that I had the right to ask for some kind of discount, and I offered the shopkeeper £45. His response was, "Sir, we really don't want to stand here talking like a couple of old fishwives, do we?" Needless to say, I paid the full price for the music centre. That's Mike Trayford in the New Forest.
Wow.
I mean, I think that's really...
Do fishwives operate a barter system?
But I thought it was very clever what the shop assistant did. He tried to shame
Yeah.
him, and never fall for that one.
What is a fishwife? Is
8,
it-
12, 15.
We'll go out on that.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
To answer your question, my favourite quiz question, this is hyper nerdy. My
Right.
favourite ever quiz question was, this took place in a quiz where a very elder statesman in the quiz world warned me beforehand and said, "Listen, son, this isn't a pub quiz. This is a quiz that just happens to take place in a pub."
Oh, good.
So when we put in our place, and the question was, it was in the early 80s, there were 6 former England captains played for Southampton, and could you name them?
Okay.
And we got most of them. It was like Keegan, Shannon, Shilton, Mills, Ball and Osgood.
Okay. I
and that
didn't
was-
think you were going to come up with a football one. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought it'd be something about, Thunderbirds or something. Well, never mind. Never mind. Worth a try.
Would you like to hear from Cyber Square?
Yes.
Sounds very up both of your trousers. I was once exiting a changing room when the changing room assistant said to me, "Oh no, that doesn't suit you."
Wow.
I was wearing my own clothes.
That's very fine. And ought to be in an episode of something like The Harry Worth Show. No, that's very
Do
good.
you mind? Yeah. And there's a number of people, for example, Annie Brooks, when I asked a snotty assistant in a well-known store in Piccadilly, okay, at F&M, she says,
Okay.
if they stocked a particular wine, he said, it's $16.99. I gave him what my husband calls my look. And I said, I didn't ask the price. I asked if you had it. I was so incensed I didn't buy it.
Hold on, why did he say that? He thought it'd be too expensive.
Well, yes. I'm handing-
$16.99. When did this happen? 1927. I mean, I know
handing
these are
this
hard
over to you.
times.
I'm assuming. I mean, let's be honest.
I don't know how much a bottle of wine costs, I'll be honest with you.
Well, Steve, you're the only drinker on the panel.
Well, it depends what quality you go for. I'd spend about 25 quid if I was trying to impress the
On
wife.
a bottle of wine.
Oh, Flash Harry.
All right.
Flash Harry, Steve.
The only wine I drink has already turned into Jesus, so I don't buy it. It's handed out.
And that, you can't put a price on that.
To be fair,
Certainly
when
not.
I haven't drunk for a while, but when I was drinking wine, it was generally handed out to me as well. I
Yeah,
didn't have to
okay.
pay for it. Annie Brooks, the thing is,
Does she?
I gave tone to that shop assistant in order, I'll be frank, to aid her anecdote.
Okay.
Because I felt, well, look, let's give it some tone. There was no tone. Obviously, there never is with the written word.
You know what I've said? Text messages should
Right.
always have stage direction.
Well, this is why I hate text and email, but that's another story.
Open brackets, haughtily, close brackets. Would have changed everything there.
$16.99. What if the person was just saying, "Oh, it's $16.99"?
Yeah. Or maybe that's what year it was from. It's a very good year, 1699.
This is an excellent
Vintage.
showcase for your voiceover skills, that you can you can give different emotions into 1699.
I can do all sorts.
BBC Radio 4 drama, here we come. You get into that thing, high tension, never finish a sentence. I know, Paul, but I was just... That's all right, Kevin. But why don't you... If you just listen, it's like I can't think of an ending for any of these sentences. I just put ... and let the actors work it through.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
I'm really impressed. You two haven't mentioned Doctor Who
No, you've mentioned
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
all morning. Oh, it's a bit awkward
But
between
I'm
you.
also I'm nowhere near I'm a bit of a plastic Doctor Who fan. I can't claim as much knowledge as many
Steve.
people.
It's not a competition. I don't like this that it's got to be a quiz.
I
It
remember
can just be love.
Now that you brought it up, I remember. I don't know
here
if we've
we
ever
go.
talked about it. I remember seeing you introduce a screening of Sharda. Was it the Douglas Adams one at the BFI?
Oh, here we go.
And I was very thrilled to see you present it. And
You
there
were
was
in the audience?
I was in the audience. Yeah.
Well, thanks for saying hello, Steve.
Well, you were whisked off straight away. You were hanging out with the BFI. You were hanging out with Dick Fiddy there.
I definitely,
Was he there?
I definitely stayed to watch
You were
Sharda.
hanging out with Dick Fiddy.
Fiddy was there. And,
You did a bit of observational, but really specific Doctor Who. That before they'd remade the footage with animation, that it had been Tom Baker
Tom Baker in a pinstripe suit,
sort of
telling the story.
and you related that to the crowd, and it absolutely walloped it.
It was a very 70s anecdote because.
Wallop the crowd.
What about this for a 70s anecdote, Emily? They started making the show. And then they had to stop making it because of industrial action at the BBC, which was quite a thing then. So it was never completed. And so when I saw it on VHS, Tom Baker was telling us the bits that hadn't been shot and then showing us the bits that had.
Oh, the
But they've-
industrial action of the 70s.
But they've covered it up with animation now, yes. That is
Yeah.
correct.
Does
Can't
Dick
believe
Fiddy-
Steve didn't say hello.
No, but he thought you were, I understand that. I would have felt similarly. I would have thought you're up there with the greats like Dick Fiddy.
Look, if you're going to mention Dick Fiddy, I've got to mention Justin Johnson, who is the other half of the double act that does all the Doctor Who stuff there.
Well,
and a
who is
very
Justin
great
Johnson?
man.
What does he do then? What do they do, Dick Fiddy and Justin
Well, they're at the
Johnson?
BFI, they're professional film buffs.
No, what is their job?
I think Fiddy is a TV expert,
Yeah.
and
Fiddy Sent,
So they're
as we call
they're
him.
archivists, I think. Is
and
it?
Justin is animation. That's his speciality. I don't know why we plug in these two guys, but I certainly love JJ. Anyway, what's the James Bond anniversary this week? I keep seeing James Bond.
I think it's
featured.
the 60th anniversary of the first film, I think.
Oh, it's a film thing, not a book thing.
No, yeah, I think it's since...
Do you know my mum used to work at GoldenEye as a cleaner for Ian Fleming?
I did not know that.
I spoke about it on here before.
Did she speak well of him?
I don't think he was only there sort of half the year or something.
Right.
And then I think they had the run of the place. It was pretty special. Yeah. What's happening? Are we going into the... Okay. Here we go. Memories. Like the dustbin of my mind.
Oh.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Steve Hall. You can text the show on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
Now, Frank, we need to talk about Bacchanalia.
I just like to leave it at Frank. We need to talk.
Yes.
You two.
I haven't done any Bacchanalia for a long... Shades of Bacchus.
Frank, you need to explain what that is.
Do you know that reference?
Yes.
It's a W.C. Fields film when a
Everyone
child...
will know it then.
A child is dropping grapes through a hole onto W.C. Fields' head.
This
And he
is
doesn't know where they're coming from, and he just says, Shades of Bacchus. Because Bacchus was the god of wine, and so obviously associated often with grapes in depictions.
And shortly afterwards, his wife, as was the old bag wife,
Yeah.
and she says, Harold, if you and your friend wish to exchange ribald anecdotes, please take them outside. Oh, I love that woman.
Well, that child could apply for the job that is being advertised. Bacchanalia is a new restaurant set to open this year in Mayfair, somewhat predictably.
Yes.
Mayfair. And they've been advertising the position of grape feeder. Someone designed to literally feed grapes to the wealthy, privileged diners.
Yes.
You say the wealthy, privileged dine. I read a preview of this restaurant.
Of the Bacchanalia.
By a sort of a restaurant-y writer person. And he said, and I quote, that Bacchanalia is ushering in the era of the £300 lunch. Wow! At last, we don't have to wait anymore for the £300 lunch.
I mean, I think I also read it said it's in a former Porsche showroom.
Is it?
And you think,
got
cost of living, right? Read the room, guys.
No, but the rich are always with us.
Well, this is true. But I mean, the former Porsche showroom,
Yes,
they're really
indeed.
going
What
for
about
it.
this? Another fact I read about it is the Midas bar.
Is that in Bacchanalia?
That's in Bacchanalia. Is made entirely of quartz. Now, for me, if my memory of drinking in bars was what I really want is a soft play centre sort of setup, because I'm going to be falling and walking into
Yes.
things. Quartz is an unforgiving environment for a
Yes,
drunkard.
yeah.
Wowee.
And the artwork is being designed by Damien Hirst. It's going to
Yes.
involve winged lovers embracing on a unicorn, which has a real
Yeah,
sort of...
mind where you're sitting. It's my advice.
Well, it's rebranding. You see, the idea of the unicorn being sexy, is that okay to say that word?
I think
the
so.
Y makes it fine.
I feel I've gone a bit hot.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sexy.
Oh, sexy. You said it before. You mentioned sexy.
Did I?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sexy people wearing string vests, of course.
So,
Of course.
but I feel it's been rebranded by one of my players. Do you remember Bukayo Saka with the unicorn ring on the? Do you remember the picture that went viral?
No.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, the swimming.
Yes.
Yes, I do remember that. I
So
think when a unicorn...
Oh no, sorry. So I now associate the unicorn with hijinks in the pool
Oh,
and good, clean fun. I don't see it as a sexy beast.
I see the unicorn as like the rival to the dragon of in the children's mythological creatures league table. They are sort of, the unicorn is Liverpool to the Dragons Man City. Is the way I see it.
Yeah. What I would say about the Bacchanalia.
The centaur is sort of relegation zone. Never really got into children's mythology. Have they made books
Have you
about
not?
lovely, friendly centaurs? The centaurs are in Harry Potter, but they're hostile, difficult.
Well, the centaur is, of course, Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, which is.
Is there a centaur in
Yeah,
that?
Mr. Tumnus. He's sort of.
Yeah.
He's not a. Is he?
He's
more
very
a
memorable.
satire. As a satire.
Oh, he's a satyr. Yeah, he's not a
More
centaur.
I'm
that
liking this football analogy, though.
Centaur's
We like
different.
the unicorn, but can they do it on a rainy day against centaurs?
I mean, I have to say, I think Liverpool. I'm not sure.
Well,
they're quite.
slightly out of date reference. Journey to the Centaur of the Earth, of course, they feature in.
Very fine.
Centaur forwards, they'd have, wouldn't they, if it was a league thing? What a long shirt they would wear.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So the job, anyway, we shouldn't get away from the job, is that and there's been something, is it a real job or is it an advert? I don't think you can advertise a job that it doesn't exist, can you, legally?
I was suspicious because when you click through the links, they're advertising for positions there, and the grape feeder is not on their website.
Maybe they filled a position.
It could be, but it also gave an email address, so maybe they're looking if you go the extra mile.
I've got an idea.
I don't like the sound of the extra mile, Steve. It concerns me, the extra mile.
Yeah, okay. I've got an idea that you can't advertise a job that doesn't exist legally.
Oh, is that right?
So
Well, they stipulated must have gorgeous hands and a basic grasp of Latin and Greek. Steve,
they're covering all the.
Steve Hall is an educated man. I suspect there's some Latin and Greek lurking around in there.
Probably.
How are your hands?
Limited. I don't have the hands. I never had the Latin for the grape feeding. But I don't think the hands.
I've picked up a bit from church over the years.
What about when my dad said about someone, she has small Latin and less Greek? And then I later discovered that was a Ben Jonson. I think Ben Jonson said it about Shakespeare to show that he was self-educated. Anyway, Absolute Radio,
fine.
everyone. But small. How you small Latin, less Greek?
I got an A at Latin A level and no Greek at all.
Good eye at Latin.
Yeah, but what about the no Greek at all?
No Greek at all.
That concerns me, Frank.
I'm out, and I don't.
But
have
they've
the hands.
gone mainly Latin because they've gone Bacchanalia.
Yeah.
So Bacchus is the Roman name for Dionysus, and Dionysus doesn't very well. The name doesn't work so well with a party description as Bacchanalia.
Yes.
Dionysus and an alien. I mean, you'll be there all night.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. I don't care what the hands of the person. I just care about the food.
I want them to be clean.
Hang
I
on.
want them to be clean if they're feeding me grapes directly into my mouth. I mean, ancient Rome, I think we can fairly say, was a pre-COVID state. But I don't want someone who looks anywhere near grubby feeding me. I mean, one thing they say is that you get regular manicures if you get the job. So they're not peeling. It sounds like they're not peeling them.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it used to be peel me a grape. That was the idea of the ultimate luxury, that someone would peel. Have you ever peeled a grape? And ever done that?
Pardon?
Have you ever peeled a grape?
For someone else or for myself? Yes,
Well,
I've
for
peeled
anyone.
a grape. I used to, when I was younger, and I would occasionally say to my parents, we would play restaurant, me and my sister.
Yeah.
And we would, that was our delicacy that we would present them with. You would peel the grape and then cut it.
I mean, it's a tricky.
Yeah, it sounds like a posh Stu Francis. Oh, I could peel a grape.
Yeah. It's a nice. I like a peeled grape. I like the. It's a different the moisture up on the
Yes,
outside.
yeah.
I like that, but it's one of those things I don't like it enough to go to the trouble to do it.
I'll tell you what I
A
felt.
bit like a hot water bowl.
Yeah, yes.
I've got one, but I just think, God,
Do you feel
I'll be
as well?
cold. I'll just be cold.
The grape feels very vulnerable and exposed
Once it's been.
without its coat.
Yes.
And even to eat it, you've got to sort of crane. If you're being fed it, it's a similar position to when you're at the dentist. I find that very vulnerable.
Yes. I wonder if the grape handler will wear an enormous light in the middle of their foot. I mean, it's a classic, isn't it? Sort of idea of luxury. Someone dangling grapes over your head like that. But
I don't want them. I don't want anyone dangling
Their grapes in your face.
Crimson.
no, exactly.
I don't want their crimson thing.
I used to get my runner to wash my grapes. No, Paul's the sound man. I think he misunderstood me. No, for hygiene reasons. I'll explain after this. But there is a strange silvery grey dust that sits on grapes that basically look to me like the remnants of insecticide.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I wanted to ask you,
Yeah,
Emily,
Bacchanalia.
with regard to Bacchanalia. I'd never heard of this restaurateur, Richard Caring,
Oh, I
who
have.
set up Bacchanalia, and I was wondering, it felt like could be circles that you'd moved in, because I'd never heard of him, and it turns out that he's obviously...
What I would say, Steve, and I know you do the show now and again, but there is a maxim, there has long been a maxim on this show, that billionaires are a bit strange. So I don't think that it's necessarily the root of all evil, money, but it is the root of something a bit odd. Usually starts with the hair. And keeps going down. But maybe you can't be a billionaire without it having a sort of strange effect on
I'm
you.
He's a
still
fascinating-
processing money as the root of something a bit odd, because it might be the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you so much.
He's a fascinating, knowing that he's very rich, he's a fascinating, just looking at photographs of his face.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, the wealth it exudes, but it sort of comes across. He looks like a kind of a startled David Dickinson or an Italian Lionel Blair. He's got that kind of. He's got that Lionel flair.
Spoken like a man who knows he'll never be invited to this restaurant. So he's got nothing to lose.
Notice I'm saying nothing.
The only way I'd ever go to that restaurant is if I suddenly developed prettier hands and got the job.
I think I'd feel a bit uneasy if I got invited there that he might be going to bring the lions out at half time to pursue me.
Accident followed by a bang.
Exactly.
I think my concern about this restaurant is...
My concern would be a great name for a double act, wouldn't it?
My concern is when they said, we promise an experience of exuberant revelry. Now, I don't know about you, but I've not had the greatest experiences with exuberant revelers.
No.
They don't strike me as particularly well versed in your antiquities.
Perhaps someone's going to feed you revels.
I just worry about the grape feeders. Are creeps going to apply for this job? Do you know what I mean?
I want to see them washing their hands at the table before they feed me a grape as well.
Well, the whole thing has a vibe of kind of the Groucho Club in the 90s. The idea is that they've gone, we'll have a grape feeder, and we'll get a unicorn, and we'll put angels. It's got that kind of late night 2 a.m. Groucho Club vibe.
People still like they like people like a post-dining anecdote, don't they?
Yes.
And so they'll be able to, so we went to this place, they fed us grapes, and then we went in this bar, it was just quarts. No pints, no, only quarts. I think people do like that. I went to the Fat Doc and came back on the radio show and spoke about at length how there's a water sommelier and all that sort of stuff. Going to the Fat Doc's like going to the theatre.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So I think this will be a bit like that. It'll be like you're in Pompeii for a couple of hours. Are you
suggesting it's an upmarket rainforest cafe?
Yes.
As they call it now, Frank.
Yeah.
They've rebranded.
Yes, it's Jungle Cave now. How long before this is Nero's Cave?
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
So we were talking about Bacchanalia. And
You were.
Decadent.
You're always talking about Bacchanalia when we're not on air.
Non-stop party life.
Meanwhile, let's get on with the show.
Is the Fat Duck, is that the most decadent restaurant you've been to?
I wouldn't say it was decadent. I'd say it's like every meal is delivered with a da-da. It's like that. You feel like everything should come from under a cloche.
So I went there, someone gifted it to me and my wife. After some work I'd done for them, and
nice. That's a nice gift. I was roundly condemned by Michael McIntyre when I told him, as a thank you to my tour manager, I'd bought him the taster menu and put him in a hotel
Isn't
outside.
that lovely?
But just him. Not a +1, so he had to go to the restaurant on his own.
That is quite depressing.
Yeah. Didn't really occur to me there's anything wrong with that. And then Michael reprimanded me for my insensitivity.
Well, we spent the whole time we were eating there terrified. I think I must have asked 5 times, this is definitely all paid for. Like, if we get some drinks, is that covered as well? But there's a meal they do where it's like the Mad Hatter's Tea Party is the theme. And they introduce it, but they say, now, do you know what time it is? And then they kind of go, no, it's tea time. And we didn't understand that was what they were trying to do. And my wife was looking at what's going, it's 7:30. And he's going, no, but do you know what time it is?
I see. See, I would think then they're going to bring out a selection of thyme for you to choose for some herbal dish.
I once my parents took me and my sister as a birthday present to have tea with Edward Lear.
Okay.
And it was lovely, and you had afternoon tea and cucumber sandwiches. But then my parents started talking to this man who was an actor.
Did you dine on mince and slices of quince?
That was the idea behind it. But then he broke character because he started talking to my parents about rep and stuff and actors and RADA and It ruined the entire experience.
Well, I must have told you when I went to a one-man show about Hans Christian Andersen.
No.
In Edinburgh, and the bloke said, I decided to play Hans Christian Andersen when people often told me I looked like him. And I thought, that is not true. No, he's never been on a bus where someone in front has nudged their mate and said, that is an Hans Christian Andersen at the back. That just didn't happen. Anyway, so, yeah, I did get someone to wash my grapes because, you get that silvery stuff on it. It looks a bit worrying.
Yes.
What is that stuff?
Well,
Is it insecticide?
That's what I thought. I found out later.
Do you know that stuff, Steve?
I don't know what it is. No.
You know how grapes have got like a sort of dust on them? It's actually a thing that they produce to stop themselves from rotting and ward. So it's actually really good stuff. It keeps the grapes fresh, and I was having it washed off. Who knew?
Oh, they produce stuff to stop themselves rotting. I like grapes.
I know, and to keep insects off and
it's
stuff.
Like a little silver bolero coat they put on.
Yeah, they're very self-contained grapes. I've always
survivors, I say.
I've always thought that.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Kay Rumbelow has been in touch. Hi, Frank and Co. A young shop assistant in Superdrug a few years ago. I asked if they had any Q-tips. She said, I'll ask. Just a minute. I heard from the other side of the aisle, a woman is asking for Q-tips. What are they? Assistant. Oh, it's cotton buds, I think. They used to call them Q-tips in the olden days.
That's not true, though, is it? Isn't Q-tips an Americanism?
An Americanism?
Yeah.
I think you're right. But I really feel very seen with that anecdote because I'm frequently going into shops.
And again, the quality of the voiceover, you inhabited them.
I was in a shop once.
I commend you.
And a woman came in and said, do you have any Christmas cards with a religious picture on the front? And the girl behind the counter said, no, we don't have any of them. She said, OK, and she went. And this girl said to the whole shop, there's probably 10 of us in the shop, she said, after the woman had walked out, she went, some funnier people about, aren't there? But it's Christmas. Some reasonable theme for a card. Oh, man.
We've had a response to... we were seeking the definition of fishwife.
Oh, yes.
And 249 has got in touch to define it for us. Is it a fishwife or fish lass were often the wives and daughters of fishermen. Fishwives were notoriously loud and foul-mouthed, as noted in the expression to swear like a fishwife. One reason for their outspokenness is that their wares were highly perishable and so lost value if not sold quickly.
Oh, I see. So they were under... Doon, 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 diddle-oon, doon. They were under... I think under pressure is about fishwives' it's like marketing stress.
It's either that or 749 says the fishwife. It's that bloke from Marillion's Missus.
Oh, yeah.
749.
It could be someone who's actually married to a woman who was fish-like.
Yes.
Like short-term memory loss. Dream partner for a lot of blokes. Or it could be a mermaid, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Have you met my fishwife? And it's and there she is in a small tank, obviously.
Yeah.
A la Splash.
002. My lovely partner.
Is he licensed to kill or just rough him up a bit?
No, he hasn't got his licence yet.
Oh, I see.
5 to go. My lovely partner Anna turned on your show whilst I was sleeping. Oh, take that how you will.
Yes.
So I had a dream about you incorrectly signing the Three Lions CD because Frank was referring to this. How many did you sign? 5,000 this week?
5,000, yeah.
Oh.
But
lovely.
five.
He always keeps it biblical, doesn't he?
But
yeah. 5 of the 5,000 are Frank Strictly.
Yes.
Yes. I did 5,000 sleeves and 2 fishwives.
Very briefly, 002 continues. In my dream, you gave me a copy of said CD. When I excitedly went to play it on a DVD player in front of my whole family,
DVD player. Wake up now. Just wake up now. Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. Do you think it's okay
I
to
think it's
continue?
okay. I think it's okay.
I'm worried now. Anyway,
It was
we're out
a
of time.
movie for adults.
Oh, it was a movie for...
But
With three
with
lions as
three
the
lions
soundtrack.
playing over the soundtrack. Now
there
I
you
see
go.
that tackled by more.
It was a grown-up.
Oh, please.
Oh, Steve.
Well, the problem with that is there was no vinyl in the sleeves because the vinyl's still in Germany being pressed, apparently. That's what Bacchanalia told me when I asked for a glass of wine. Anyway, we got no wine, but we got some pre-wine. Gordon, and then over comes the grape dangler, as he's known.
I don't like the grape dangler.
Anyway, and what do you do for a living? Well, so listen, Steve, it's always good to see you.
Cheers.
And thanks for listening. If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.